Well, when it comes to the JFK files, there's a lot of clues. There isn't a smoking gun. There isn't this definitive, oh, who did it? It's that person right there. But what you do recognize in the information that has been presented so far, because there's a lot of redacted files that, well, not unredacted files, I should say, that has to be read through. I think it's like 20 to 30,000 pages worth of information. It's a lot. But here's what has been discovered and is indisputable. We had a guest on our show, Mr. McCarthy, who wrote.
I was just going to say, because Kim today, her guest was kind of like that. I'm like, we did that. We did that. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
And Sabby did have on Ken before, JFK and RFK versus Zionist extremism. And the creme a la creme topic in this particular book was James Jesus Angleton.
Yes.
And the role that he played as a Mossad double agent in the CIA to basically deal with JFK. There is also reason to believe that Jack Ruby was connected to Angleton and connected to the Mossad. And so, should that surprise anybody? Remember, Oswald said from the second he was brought into the Dallas PD precinct, I'm just a patsy. He didn't say he wasn't involved, but he said that he was a patsy.
Oh, yeah. No, he was clearly involved because they knew where to find him. I mean, he was brought in, whether willingly or not, he was involved. But it's just a matter of whether or not he actually shot JFK.
And keep in mind, if you look throughout history, whether it's, John Wilkes Booth, Jesus Sogales, I think is how you say his name, who assassinated McKinley. Every assassin always admits that they, especially if they get a president, they want the glory. It's everything.
Right. It would only be somebody hired and part of a plan that wouldn't. Right.
If Oswald assassinated the president, like Nixon, I did it.
Well, you would think. I mean, now what's interesting to me is for years and years, with many rational and thoughtful people, have known that it was obviously some sort of inside job, like who did this? Like, obviously there was a thing. It wasn't just, oh, he got shot, right? We know that. But I think that for the most part, and I will say I always thought it was much more about the CIA. And we talked about this when Ken was here and about what happened between him and Kennedy and the Dulles brothers. And that was basically a motive, which is still a valid, I'd say it's still a valid argument, but now it really does look much more so that it has to do with Israel.
Yes.
And not about that the CIA being the head of the CIA being dismissed. Also, guys, Kim Iverson does a really good breakdown of this. She really digs deep into this. There's a whole segment about it. Quite good. But the point is, there were many parties that had motive, right? Like it could have been, like she said, it could have been, the Cubans are definitely involved, and not Cuban people, but at the time, like that was involved in it. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, this is an Israel thing.
I think it's without question an Israel thing. And as was posted, I can't make out this person's name, but I sent it over to Colin. And this is one of the more important unredacted statements from the JFK files. Uncomfortable truth. JFK wanted to strip the CIA of its autonomy, force AIPAC, Dr. Simon Godek. And this is a huge account that is posting this. Over 1 million subscribers. Force AIPAC, formerly the American Zionist, what was it called, Jen?
I don't remember. This is before my time. It's whatever
the American Zionist Coalition or something like that. Yeah. To register as a foreign agent, block Israel's nuclear ambitions, and challenge the Federal Reserve's grip on U.S. currency. That's why he was assassinated. And you know what? It was always a combination of things.
That's a lot of things. Right. Well, but again, that's a lot of variables.
What I will say, and what I think is indisputable, and the biggest reason above all others that Jack was assassinated, he was a true commander-in-chief. He believed that the buck stopped with him and that he was the final line of defense when it came to crucial decision-making for the United States of America. And there were other people, whether it was J. Edgar Hoover, whether it was James Jesus Angleton, whether it was Alan Dulles.
Well, and there were a lot of people that would have benefited, whether it was Lyndon B. Johnson. There were a lot of people that served to benefit from him being assassinated. And guys, definitely go check out our interview with friend Ken McCarthy about his book on this, because I'm kind of proud to say we were talking about it before this was even released. We're really ahead of the curve on some things.
Sean, we'll cover Candace Owens on Monday if it's a really good clip. The other thing you have to remember about channels like Candace Owens, Candace Owens is a multimillionaire, so she's got a crack staff that could get in there.
We need her showing our clips, not us showing her clips.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm just like, why do we need to show her clips? We don't need to promote Candace Owens. She's doing fine.
Well,
although Daily Wire, not so much.
Oh, yeah, that really
looks
sucked.
like that might be falling apart.
We're not going to get into the Daily Wire tonight because that's a long story, but we could do that on Monday.
But it gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling to picture like our friend Ben, like all verklempt about
Listen,
it.
Nothing is happening to our channel. Do not even suggest it. It's not happening. We're going to fix the problem. Don't worry about it.
Bye-bye, Benny.
And I'm Yisrael High. Real big time.
I can't.
But what you also have to remember, and this is the other thing about LBJ, no president before or since, maybe Trump, LBJ was as pro-Israel as you could possibly get. Do you really think if Jack had lived and was reelected almost assuredly in 64, that if that incident with the USS Liberty happened in the Mediterranean Sea, that he would have covered it up? No, Jack probably would have ended the state of Israel on the spot if something like that happened.
So point being, if he didn't get dead when he got dead, he would have gotten dead then.
Well, possibly, but what would have happened is if there was, and because keep in mind, that was an act of war.
Oh, completely. And it got completely covered up. Completely covered up.
Completely bury the biggest naval ship in the United States of America. Tried to bury it in the Mediterranean Sea. Couldn't do it. They killed 70 American soldiers.
And there was no ramifications for this. Nothing happened.
LBJ and McNamara covered it up.
Right.
How much you want to bet that it wasn't just digging into JFK's assassination, but also digging into the truth about the USS Liberty is what got Nixon kicked out of office? You really think Nixon is that big of a criminal compared to other presidents?
Oh, at this point, no. Well, at this point, now that the mask is off, we see not. No, Nixon's problem at the end of the day was hubris, because had he just come clean and owned it, it would have been a whole different thing. So that was really what really got him in the end, I think. But no, and everything is relative. Like, people look back now and be like, Watergate, who gives a shit about that? Like, that's like the least offensive thing that we've seen in our corruption politics.
You have the Zionists on social media talking about how a lot of the files so far have indicated a lot of crossover with the USSR. Keep in mind that there was an entire back channel of communication between JFK and Khrushchev, and people pretend like that wasn't what was really going on. JFK and Khrushchev negotiated the end to the Cuban Missile Crisis, and effectively the highest point of the Cold War. Everything was on a downward trajectory post-1962. That had to do with removing missiles from Turkey, and they're removing their missiles from Cuba.
All of which is bad for business.
All of it. How many oligarchs in the United States wanted Kennedy dead the second he would not go in and take out Castro? Castro destroyed billions upon billions of dollars in gambling revenue for the oligarchs in the United States. That's why you had the Bay of Pigs. That's why these things happen. And some people think it's simple, that money and power is too simple. No, it isn't. Kings are killed. People are always on the chopping block if you get in the way of capital. That has always been the danger. That was Bernie's greatest danger when he ran in 2015 and 2016. Bernie was fucking with capital, and they had to make an example of him, and Bernie wasn't willing to fight the way we needed him to. That being said, we are dancing in very dangerous waters right now. And there was a great Instagram clip that a comedian by the name of Jonathan Randall, who I believe is Jewish as well. Is that correct, Jen?
He's most definitely Jewish. He grew up down here. Remember when he came on, he and I played Jewish geography. So he's actually local tribe to me. Get that if Mitch is watching. There's another one of me.
Jen sent this.
He went to my Hebrew Academy in Miami Beach.
Jen sent this clip to me the other day and said, and I quote, "If anybody captured my feelings perfectly,
this is the most." Yeah. And we've had him on, guys. You should check it out because he's really great.
Is Jonathan Randall. I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish household in Miami Beach, Florida. I graduated high school from the Hebrew Academy, and the first time I went to Israel, I was 15 years old. I was lied to all my life about the creation of Israel, the reality of Zionism, and the Palestinian people. It's not that one day I became pro-Palestinian. It's that I am pro-humanity and believe in freedom and equality for all people, no matter their religion, ethnicity, or nationality. I am a proud Jew who stands strongly against Jew hatred and understands that the best way to combat anti-Semitism is not to allow a country and political ideology to ethnically cleanse, occupy, and commit genocide in the name of Judaism. It doesn't matter if you call him Hashem, Allah, or Jesus. We are all God's children, and we weren't created to murder and hate each other. I don't speak out against the crimes of Israel and their egregious violations of Palestinian human rights because I hate being Jewish. I do so because I love it and can't stand seeing a part of me I hold so dear being corrupted and causing such immense suffering to the people of Palestine. Hashem did not choose the Jewish people to be warmongering oppressors. He chose us to be the light of the world, and we will never be that through forced displacement and mass murder. The Holy Land is for all people, and to claim it as your own is to desecrate it. We can't be divided by human constructs. We have to be united in being human. So do you only care about you and yours, or for all of God's creations? Because one day we will all die, but it's up to us how we will live. I choose to live with love, standing up for the oppressed. Will you?
The best. I was so good.
It was.
I know.
Very powerful.
Very powerful. And that's exactly how I feel like when he was, well, although everyone knows I'm an atheist, so it's not like a God thing for me, but in terms of just being proud of where I'm from and being proud of my people, I'm very proud to be Jewish. This is devastating for me on so many levels. So it's horrible. And it is totally fostering anti-Semitism, which is totally unproductive. But yeah, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel.
It's how anybody who can actually see through the propaganda feels. Now, I'm of the mind, are there really warped individuals out there? Yes. But much like Mitch, I put it in quotations as if he's like a fake person.
He isn't. And I'm going to most likely get hell for tonight's show once this like
he started it.
Oh, it isn't about
do anything.
Again,
But it is, without question, a class war, nothing more. Much like everything else we talk about in politics, everything is related to this. JFK was a traitor to his class, much like FDR. JFK wanted to change this country in a way that was reflected.
FDR was protecting his class. Let's be real.
He was. That's true. That's actually more true. JFK actually was trying to change things in a very profound way. And there was this old guard, led most likely by Allen Dulles and a cadre of other people, that wanted no part of this. Because some people do see themselves as playing God. There is something to be said for that.
I liked what he said also about, when you talk a lot about, it's like that the Jews are the chosen people, right? And when you think about it, how he thinks about it, that the Jewish people were chosen to share light and bring healing. And that's what Tikkun Olam is. It's about helping repair and heal the world. So when you think of it from that way, and he was raised, trust me, when I tell you, I know where that area, he was raised Orthodox. And the fact that he can see that is so, like, it gives me hope. And it isn't overnight. But he also, and we talked about this when he was on here, he's definitely had his fair share of ostracization from our local tribes people as well.
All of the writing is on the wall. And there's people that get caught up in this idea that it's funny. I don't want to give Hillary Clinton credit for anything, but there is one thing that she did say that is actually true about politics. There is a public position and there is a private position. The private position is infinitely more important because that's where a person really stands. Now, while Jack had some favorable things to say about Israel, keep in mind this was before 1967, when all hell really broke loose in the worst way. 1948, of course, was a catastrophe, but 1967 was the point of no return. And
the biggest difference between those two times in terms of where America was an empire was in 1948, really the UK, well, Britain, I don't know. Like at this point, it's like, was it England? Was it Britain at that time? I don't know. But the British mandate was still what was happening. So at that point, they were still sort of calling the shots. And when they handed that over to us, and then you get into the 60s, it's a whole other thing. Because now at this point, American empire is completely dominated. So you're talking two completely different like eras between 48 and 20 years later.
No, absolutely. And we have to make a choice. We have to decide as a nation. If there is irrefutable evidence, which I believe there is, that Israel, maybe above all other reasons, is why Jack was assassinated, we have to ask ourselves, how much more are we willing to put up with the Zionist construct systematically taking over the United States? Because that's what
again, I don't see it as them taking us over as much as it's we're wielding our power in that way. We're doing it. We're prioritizing the Zionist project as part of the American empire.
But here's the thing. Our government is in many ways a living, breathing entity that can be controlled by money.
Thank you, Travers. Thank you.
Yep. To me, what we're looking at here is kind of like a blob that's just gotten, as you often have said, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Well, at the breakneck speed that the Trump administration is moving at right now, on behalf of Israel in many instances, mind you, and especially with this saber rattling with Iran, that is just
which is also, again, on behalf of Israel. But is it? Or is it on behalf of us, and we use that as our excuse? Again, this is you're letting the tail wag the dog. That's every time we say it that way, it's a tail wagging the dog. This is an American empire problem.